Hi everyone, and thank you for viewing our demonstration today. What we're going to do in this demo is go over packaging a legacy application to show you just some of our awesome capabilities and compatibility for legacy applications. We picked a really nice old ArcView GIS application as our example today, and this version of the product was published way back in 1996 for Windows 95. While this may be a pretty extreme example to show off, we have had customers over the years come to us with applications that require them to keep a subset of Windows XP machines around just to run a critical app. Applications that maybe just would not run on Windows 10. We've also had customers who had to turn to Windows Server 2012 as a stopgap solution because at least that version of the Windows OS was still under support. But with end of life looming for that operating system, they are now desperately in need of a way to bring those legacy applications forward to their modern operating systems. Well, this particular application we are showing today is one that will not install on Windows 10. It will install on Windows 7 32-bit, however. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to capture it on a Windows 7 VM, and then we're going to be able to deliver it to a Windows 10 platform. So first, just to show you the compatibility issue here, I'm going to go ahead and try to install this on a Windows 10 machine. So I'm going to open up the installer for this app, and we're going to see what happens when we try to install it. Let's drill down here when we try to install it on Windows 10. You can see we get a message from Windows 10 that doesn't really give a whole lot of detail. However, if you dig around, really the heart of the issue here is the fact that this has two problems. One is it's a 16-bit installer. While it's a 16-bit installer, it is actually installing a 32-bit application that can run on a modern operating system, but the installer itself is 16-bit. The package also has some fonts that are in an older format that is no longer supported on a modern operating system. And we'll get back to the old fonts in just a second. But let's go over and jump to our Cloudpaging Studio that I've got on a Windows 7 32-bit machine here. I'm just going to open up Studio, and we're going to create a new project for our ArcView GIS application. Here I'm just defining information about the application. Now, as I said, this was released in 1996, so it's been a long time since anyone's done any thorough testing of this application, I'm sure. And one thing I'm going to do here because of that is I'm going to set all the compatibility for the different operating system versions. If you're not sure an application will work on certain versions of an OS, you would limit what versions the application can run on. But in this case, if it's a legacy application you're trying to bring forward, then obviously you're going to want to support the latest version of the OS. And just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to turn off encryption and compression. This is just to speed up the demo a little bit. Before capturing, I need to save our project. For the capture, I'm going to browse out and browse to the exact same installer that didn't work on Windows 10, but now that I'm on my Windows 7 32-bit machine, it should work for the sake of doing this capture. And by the way, for some other applications, we do have compatibility modes in Studio, so you could try to run the installer in a compatibility mode on Windows 10, and that may work. So this monitor is going to see what assets are being put onto the system, and other things that are touching the system are going to be detected in real time for us. So as opposed to other products that are doing install captures and doing it before and after snapshot and just getting the delta, this is actually doing real-time monitoring of everything that's happening. And during this monitoring, it's possible that some files that are temporary will be included during the installation process, and they may be of importance later on, but more than likely not, so those types of files could be excluded. And this is just a pretty standard installer for ArcView GIS. We're just going to do next, accept the defaults. And it's a fairly lightweight application, so it doesn't take a lot of time to install. Okay, and the installer should finish installing its shortcuts. And then for this particular application, it has an Alt-Tab kind of issue with the display. So after it's done installing, it doesn't actually prompt us to complete the install. We're going to have to use Alt-Tab to get to that final window. And that's just part of running this installer on this Windows 7 machine. It's not part of our product. It's just something we got to work around here. All right, this install looks complete. And at this point, I'll tab to our final window. And I'm not going to reboot at this time. So we've captured all the assets for now for ArcView GIS. And if we go through here, we can see this particular application doesn't have any services and drivers. It doesn't have any startup parameters, but it does have some fonts, which I alluded to earlier. And these are fonts that I was talking about that are incompatible with some of the newer operating systems. So I'm just going to go ahead and exclude those. This application could obviously just look at existing fonts on those operating systems of choice and give you the option to use those fonts instead. So it's not going to break the application by excluding those. It's actually fixing and allowing it to run since those older fonts are not compatible. Now I'm going to drill down here and mark the main binary for this application as our command line. And under the project tab, we can indeed see that our command line has been set. So at this point, I'm going to Cloudify to compile our project and package. Studio notes that there were a few files that were used during the installation process that are no longer on the system. So those are some of those transient files, like those temporary files we mentioned a little bit earlier. If we did need those for some reason, we could go back and grab those and put them back into the package. But usually these are just temporary and unneeded, so it should be fine. If I did need them, I could go back and put them in. All right, so now we've captured ArcView GIS. At this point, I'm going to take that package and I'm going to copy it over to my share or my repository. This is on my Cloudpaging server. And what I'm not going to show right now is how I just published that through our Numecent enterprise portal, which is very simple. Since I just copied it over to the server, all I have to do is go into the enterprise portal, discover the package, and then just assign it to my users or groups. Our awesome cloud native container management platform, Cloudpager, to just drag and drop this package onto the admin portal and then assign it to a user via a custom storefront, or even auto deploy it directly to my users' Windows 10 desktops via a work pod. But all I really want to show you guys here today is it actually working on Windows 10 after packaging it. So here I am on my Windows 10 machine. I'm logged in as a user that's been assigned the application. I just refresh my enterprise portal. You can see the ArcView GIS version 3 applications available. And if I just click to launch it, it's going to dynamically deliver and virtualize that application for me on my Windows 10 machine. So the application's available. If I launch it, boom, there we have it. This legacy application that seemingly wouldn't work on Windows 10 is now working thanks to the awesome Cloudpaging container. If you'd like to find out more about bringing forward legacy applications using the Cloudpaging container, check out our awesome blogs, and also reach out to us if you have some tricky applications that you need help bringing forward. Thank you.